Hey, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, good night, good morning, whatever it is for you right now. We're really glad you're with us. Brad Macbeth here from The Simple Plan with The Simple Plan Live. And we're in that beautiful time of year where winter is finally giving way in most areas to spring. Official spring starts another couple of days. And of course, we just crossed the threshold of daylight saving time. And we're going to talk about time today. Um, Daylight saving time is such an interesting topic. It really generates controversy now whenever the time change comes. There's clamor to change so that we're really on permanent daylight saving and not going back and forth. And I get that. Yeah, I find it a bit wearying each time we do the time change, just a little bit. But I wasn't aware. I saw today that actually the United States tried permanent daylight saving in the middle of the 1970s during the great energy crisis back then. And a lot of people hated it because they didn't like the fact that kids were going to school in the pitch dark in the middle of winter. So, there's just a lot of, there's no perfect system. It just is what it is. It's funny how we're such slaves to the clock, right? But anyway, we want to talk about how time is money today, and we're going to look at that specifically with respect to your finances. And I want to say thanks to our weekly sponsor, the Simple Plan Community. You can join the Simple Plan Community at facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan Community. I really encourage you to come join us there. We have great interactions, conversations, things happening. We are working to build it, and we want you to come join with us. People who are like-minded, who want to make the most of their finances, fellow sojourners on that financial trail. And we want to help you, help yourself, as well as help others. We've all got great insights to share with respect to money. There's so many different ways to manage our finances. And we want people to be there sharing with one another. And that's a lot of what goes on in there. So if you're interested in having a community of like-minded fellow sojourners on that financial journey, come join us, won't you? I've put the link there in the comments as well. So you can see it there. It's up on the screen. And we will hopefully see you join us there. And we're going to jump right into it. I've got two tools and just kind of some ideas to show you. So I'm going to start with just the concepts because I'm fielding an awful lot of calls. And I was reading today, there, with what went on here in Canada, I mean, both the uncertainty that we're dealing with, which is now really, I would say, kind of fourfold that we're being bombarded. One is, of course, the ongoing pandemic, which restrictions are being loosened all over the place, and that's great. We're all feeling good about that. But at the same time, there's whispers of a variant of the variant that's, or a subgenre of the variant, or a evil cousin of the variant, I don't know, for Omicron that's getting its head up here in the headlines. So we'll see what happens with that. But most restrictions are off in our jurisdiction, and I think in a lot of jurisdictions across Canada at least. But the pandemic, the inflation we're experiencing, which in Canada in February was about 5.5%. In the United States, it was well over 7%. The price of gasoline and oil, which of course is contributing heavily or significantly, I'll say, to that inflation, is up enormously at levels we've never ever experienced. And then finally, the effect that the government had with the imposition of the Emergencies Act, it really rattled a lot of people. Credit Union reported the other day that they had a lot of withdrawals of entire accounts of cash, including some very large withdrawals in the 6 and 7 figures, because people were so spooked by the government seizing people's bank accounts without any due process whatsoever. And understandably, that was very disturbing. So a lot of reasons people are feeling a lot of uncertainty and asking questions. Of course, the market's been down since the beginning of the year as well, over the last 3 months. So a lot of people thinking, should I take my money out? Should I be putting it into cash for a while? Or all that, which that is what we call timing the market. We're trying to pick highs and lows. So if we were pulling our money out right now, we'd be thinking we were picking a high. We're going to pull the money out because things are going to go down because of all these other factors. And we will put it back in at some point in the future. But it's very hard to know where that point is. When exactly is the low? And so I wanted to share with you what you're looking at on your screen there. This goes back 35 years plus. And shows us 4 of the great events that have happened financially in that period. And they were quite spectacular at the time. So we have way back in 1987, the Black Monday crash. I was actually in Toronto by coincidence, visiting family that day. I was leaving, and I remember that happening. And I wasn't even in this industry at that time. I wasn't an advisor. And boy, people were freaked out. They really were. And, since then, now when that happened in a single day, it was, I believe, the 23.9% drop didn't happen in a single day, but the Black Monday that they were referring to that happened in October, actually, I believe was at that time, the largest or second largest single day crash in history. Then we had the dot-com bubble bursting back when, there was a lot of derision of what companies were doing then. They were really just too far ahead of the public. So people, probably one of the most famous episodes was pets.com. There was groceryvan.com was another one. These were doing the crazy things that people said that's never going to happen, which was you could order your pet food or your groceries or whatever online and it would get delivered to your home. 20 years past that, we now know, of course, that's exactly what many people are doing. But the world was not ready for it yet. The public wasn't ready for it to do those kinds of transactions online. Webvan, that's what it was called, not grocery van, webvan.com. So there was a massive crash, 47.4% in that period. That period lasted about a year, as we can see there. And then we had the really big financial crisis from February 07 to February 09. We actually hit the bottom of that market in March, mid-March 2009. And that dropped the market 55%. And then, of course, we had this, another one of those real flash crashes. When the COVID-19 lockdown started, the market crashed 33% in a matter of 6 weeks and then corrected back almost entirely within that 6-week time frame. And so there are big crises that come and go. But here's the moral of the story. If we look at what's gone on from 1985 to 2020 and beyond, we can see here that it just keeps going up and up and up and up along the way. So if you're in for a long period of time, you are going to do well. It's just, and we could extend this kind of analysis back another 100 plus years, and it would show you the same thing. In fact, I've got a long list of over the 20th century and beyond, about 100 different crises that happened. Many of them very, very big, including, of course, 2 world wars. And yet the market is resilient and it has its up and downs, but it comes back. So to show you the second part of this, so this just tells you, look, there's nothing to panic about. These are the things that go on. And yes, the war in Ukraine is very disturbing, but it's not necessarily disturbing to economic markets. It's just disturbing to us all. But so let's look at this notion that time in the market is time well spent. So here we can see that missing the best days can hurt. So what this shows you is the growth of $10,000 from same period, January 1st, 1985 to December 31st, 2020. So this is supposing that you put $10,000 in right at the beginning on January 1st, 1985. Now, if you had left it fully invested, you never touched it, the dividends are being reinvested, all the way through until the end of 2020, that $10,000 without you adding a penny would have grown to $515,000. That's if you had it invested in an S&P 500 US index fund. Now, here's something that's really sobering. If you just missed the 5 best days, only 5 days, so your money was out of the market on the 5 best days in that period, your gain would have been reduced by 50%, down to $257,427. That's missing only the 5 best days. Now, if you think that you can pick when the best 5 days are going to happen so you can be sure not to miss them, then I think you can start timing the market. But if you can't, this is what you're risking. If you missed the 10 best days, you've now reduced it, you're down nearly to about 35% at 171,569 compared to 515,776. If you missed an entire month of the best days, the 30 best days in the market, you're down now at about 10% of the gain. And if you missed the 50 best days in that period, remember, we're talking 35 years here. So if you missed only the best 50 days in 35 years, your growth would only have been about 5% of what it would be if you just left it invested. So I understand how people are fearful. I really do. I understand why people are fearful about these things because, we put our money in and then there's all this upheaval and turbulence and we think, oh my goodness, the world's coming to an end. It really should be, I should do something. And that's another thing. We want to do something. You remember when everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people were running out buying toilet paper at the start of the pandemic? That wasn't driven by, maybe some people had some mild misunderstanding that COVID might be gastrointestinal, but mostly it was driven by 2 things: fear of the pandemic, but also fear that there was going to be a shortage of those types of supplies, which of course was fed by the fact that everybody bought stuff and it emptied the shelves. But also the human impetus we have to do something. We want to do something. We see that experience in traffic. If we're sitting in traffic and we're stopped and the car's going nowhere, people just start to get snarky. They get very antsy and they don't like it. And they will pull out and go around and do all sorts of things, even if they can just inch ahead a little bit at a time, because it feels like I'm doing something, I'm making progress. And so when things are difficult, things are challenging on our emotions for investing, we want to do something. But we can see the damage here that you can do if we go and do something because we can't possibly know when the best 5 days or 10 days or 30 days or even 50 days are out of 35 years. 35 years is close to 14,000 days. There's no possible way to pick the best 50 days out of 14,000. So it's not a good plan. So remember that. If you just stick to this path, you're going to get this kind of growth. And that's where you want to be. All right. So I now want to show you 2 illustrations and tools. These are tools that you can use. And by the way, if you want to see a copy of what I'm presenting here, just drop us a line, put something in the comments, send us an email, whatever you want. I'm happy to give it to you. Just let me know. Okay, so now we're going to look at the ways that time really is a major factor. It really is money when it comes to investing. And we're going to see it in both directions. So we're going to see an example of how we can make time work for us. We're also going to see a way in which we can make time work against us, or a way in which we let time work against us. So I want to show you, this calculator is called the cost of waiting. We looked at this a little while ago, but I want to show you again, just to remind you that staying out of the market, delaying getting into investing, so not using time. So now you're letting time is working against you because the time your money is going to be invested is going to be shorter, is hazardous to your financial health. So let's look at that $10,000 again. And let's say we're not going to put anything else in, just like our illustration. And we're going to let it grow for 35 years. And we're not going to delay it any years. We're going to start right away. And we're going to get 9.5%. See where that takes us to. Okay, so let's play with that. We can see what it took to get us to that 515 they were talking about. So yeah, they got about, over that period of time, we got about, I'm going to guess about 11.9%. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so what we were looking at before, that was about an 11.9% rate of return from 1985 until the end of 2020. Now, this is if you would put that money in 1985. And probably in 1985, it might have been hard to put that money in because we'd have been young. What was I then? I was 24. Wasting a lot of my time and my money at that time. And, so let's say that I delayed that. I'm like, well, I've got all these excuses, or you only live, or, I've heard it all from people, whether it's, oh, well, I'm young, so I'm going to take this trip, even though I'm putting the money on my credit cards or whatever. It's like, okay, sure, you can do that, but you're missing out. You're just swimming against the current, and you're really missing out on harnessing the power by having the current push you in the right direction. So let's imagine we delayed just 5 years. Okay, so I was 24. I don't have it together, so I'm going to wait till I'm 29. So what happened? By delaying those 5 years, my investment only grows to $291,000. Now, mind you, this is at 11.9%, so this is a good rate of return. Only grows to $291,000. So my waiting 5 years cost me $220,000. So if I could have just scraped that $10,000 together when I was 24, rather than waiting until I was 29, I'd have been much better off. And I cannot tell you the number of conversations I've had with people who are, it doesn't matter how old they are. I've had the conversation with people in their late 20s. But the number one thing I hear from people is, I wish I'd started earlier. I wish I'd known this then. All right, so let's see what happens if we wait 10 years. So maybe I ran up a lot of credit card debt and lived, a great life, but a financially very bad life. Okay, so now by delaying 10 years, I've only grown my money to $166,000. And so the cost of waiting those 10 years was $345,000. So that's one way of putting it. That's time working against us when we delay. But let's go the other direction. Let's say, well, you know what? I don't want to delay. I'm going to get started now. So rather than waiting 5 years, I'm going to start today. And I'm going to put in, so I'm going to look at a couple things. So we got to 166 here. So I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to delay. Maybe I can't do the full 10,000 today, but maybe I could get to the 166 if only I put in what? Let's put in 3,000. Oh, that's pretty close. So I could get the same result that I get by putting in 3,200 today that I would get if I delayed and put 10,000 in 10 years. So I can put in 3,200 now, or 10,000 in 10 years. And believe me, those numbers really start to ramp up. Let's see how much we'd have to put in. So let's say we delayed 20 years. And we're trying now to get to that 166. Let's get that to 20. All right. So, now I'm going to have to probably put in, it looks like around $31,000. Yep. All right, so if I delay 20 years, which is typical, a lot of people could have started at 20, don't start till 40. They put in 31,000. or they'll have to put in 31,000, 10 times as much nearly as they could when they could have put in 3,200 20 years earlier and had the same effect. Now, and that's without adding any money. Let's see how it goes if we start putting in some annual savings. So let's go back to 0 years delayed, and our initial savings will reset to 10,000. So remember, that's getting us to 511,744. But let's say annually we're going to add another $1,000. Where's that going to get us to? I thought that's going to get us close to $1 million. Let's see. Let's make it 1050. That might get us to the million. There you go. All right, so we put in 1050 a year. That's not even 100 a month. That's like $80 a month. $80 a month? Most of us can probably figure out how to do that. All right, $80 a month. That's going to get us to being millionaires. Now that's at that 12% rate of return. I don't know if that's going to sustain for the next 35 years, but there's probably a fairly good chance it will. But let's see, let's delay, let's make the excuses. I can't do it. You know how much I hear I can't do it from people that I know go out for lunch every day? They go to work, they could brown bag it, but they won't. Or I've got to get my venti macchiato, blah, 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 every morning. $6 on coffee. $6 on coffee every day that I work? Gosh, well, even $5 on coffee. $5 on coffee every work day, even $4 on coffee every work day will get me to that 1,050. So let me put it this way. I hope you enjoyed that coffee because it's costing you like $500,000. All right, so let's delay. Okay, well, I can't start now. Maybe I can start in a year. Look at that. By delaying 1 year, we dropped from $1 million to below 900. So we dropped more than 10% by delaying 1 year. We delay 2 years, we've dropped 20%. 3 years, we're down almost 30%. 5 years, we're down nearly at 50% now. So it's painful. So the question is, do you want time working for you or do you want time working against you? All right, so now let's go, and this is really a variation on the same analysis, right? This is a great tool that you can use. Oh, by the way, I'm going to put the link in there for us. So that second one is called the cost of waiting calculator. It's going to flash up on your screen there. I'm putting it in the comments. Just a sec here and it'll pop up. All right, there you go. So there's your cost of waiting calculator. Make a note of that, or it's down in the comments there. And all right, so now we're going to look at and this is just simple. You know, I'm really, of course, we call our project, our approach, our method is called the simple plan. And so that's what we like to do, is keep it simple. So let's go with a simple, how much do I need to save calculator? And so the question here is, what's my goal? Okay, now you can have this be a big long-term goal. There could be a shorter-term goal. Maybe you want to take that family vacation to Europe or to somewhere else. Or maybe it's the long-term of, I want to become a millionaire. You can do anything if you put your mind to it, planning with your finances, if you'll arrange them in a way where that can work. So that may require sacrifice, but it certainly will always require planning. So very common topic. I want to become a millionaire. All right. Well, when do you want to do that? Well, I want to do that in 25 years. Okay. What's the inflation rate? Well, the default here was 2, and we've been using that a lot, but as it turns out, we really, I've been using 2.5, and I was apologizing for it for a while, saying, oh, I know that sounds high, but long-term inflation is more like 3.5 or 4%. Well, of course, we've had inflation kick its ugly head up, so I'm going to go with 3. Hopefully it's going to come, well, it will come back down eventually. They'll wrestle it down. That may be painful. All right, so it tells us what the cost of our goal is in future dollars. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that in 25 years, we know $1 million isn't going to buy in 25 years what it could buy today. Well, at 3% inflation in 25 years, in order to have the spending power of $1 million in today's money, we're going to need $2 million, almost $2,100,000. So if your goal is to have the kind of the purchasing power or the financial well-being of a millionaire today, you're going to need $2.1 million in 25 years in order to have that same status. All right. And so let's say that we've got $50,000 in current savings to put to this, and we're putting our money in monthly. Start or end, it's not a huge effect, but it does have an effect. So you have to decide, am I putting the money in on the first of the month or the last of the month? And then we're going to figure out how much do we need to save. Okay, so we see, and we've got a rate of return of 6. Well, that's kind of dismal. Let's amp it up to 8.5 at least. Oh, what has to happen here? I think there's a calculate button I have to hit. Oh no, there we go. Just hopped us down to the bottom of the page. I'm just going to zoom out one little bit there. I know it gets harder to read, but then we can see. Okay, so actually, I'm going to zoom into this information at the bottom because it's giving us lots of good information. All right, so here we go. So now it's telling us that my plan of $750 isn't quite going to get us there. In fact, we're only going to get about halfway there. We're going to end up with $1.163 million. We're going to be $929,000 short in 25 years. That's fine. That's what they tell us here. So what they tell us is we need to do one of these things. We need to either put in an additional lump sum of $120,976. Let's just test this out. Where did I say? Oh, yes. Okay. So let's change that. 120,976. Did that get us there? No. So it's an additional 120,796. So that means, there we go. It means to our 50, we had to add that. So let's go back to our 50 now. Or we need, and now we're only halfway there, right? But it's telling us we need to actually invest an additional $895 a month. So I think that's what it's saying. So if we go 1645, yeah, same. Or, of course, the other thing we could do, though we don't have control over this, we have control in that we can make different investing choices. We could get a higher rate of return. Now, we saw a little over 11. Would that get us there? Oops, I shouldn't press that key. That gets us a little short. Still aren't quite making it. 11.5 would get us there pretty much. Now, I'm not suggesting that we can for sure get 11.5, and these are projections and we need to adjust them regularly, review them annually, all that stuff. But it gives you an idea of what we're talking about when we say time can work for you or against you. We saw how it can work against you if we delay, but we see here how it can work for us. Time is very powerful in the world of compounding rates of return. We put our money in, we add some here and there along the way, and it increases significantly. So that's today's relatively simple, straightforward lesson about time and money. So we can see time is money. And I'm going to put up our last tool there. There's our reach a goal calculator. And yeah, so that's it. It's straightforward. It's not rocket science. It's really understanding, and more than anything, it's self-discipline. And that starts with being clear on your goals. You have to be very clear on your goals, because as human beings, we are, for whatever reason, very plugged into short-term gain. So for some reason, a latte today seems a lot better than, if I said, listen, you're going to go and buy that $6 coffee today. How about if instead, in 2 years, I gave you $100? You're probably most likely to say, no, I'm just going to enjoy my coffee. Because that seems very tangible and concrete and immediate. Whereas $100 2 years from now doesn't seem like that big a deal. But if you started to add it up, if you said, well, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do that every day for a year. Let's do it every working day for a year. So there's, let's say you've got approximately 200 working days. And so now I'm saying, well, you just stop drinking that coffee a day, and I'm going to give you 200 times $100. I'm going to give you $20,000 in 2 years. Well, now you might start thinking about it. Now it's sounding like, well, I'll pay you $20,000 in 2 years if you just stop buying that latte between now and then. Of course, it's a silly example, but it gets you examining yourself and how our emotions work on us when we're making these kinds of choices. So time and money are completely interrelated, and you can make it work for you or against you. You can make it work for you with compounding rates of return. It works very powerfully against you with compounding rates of return if you have debt. Your credit card bills, if they're not getting paid off, are amping up. So you can make time work for you. It really is money, and you need to be clear on what your goals are, and you need to really force yourself, discipline yourself to do that. Now, these tools can help you to do that because you can see the results of various actions or inactions. And it's very important that we look at that. It's why we really advocate building plans. It's why we build plans for everyone, so that when we work with them, they see what we're projecting and where we're going, but also the place we start is we give them a plan for the track they're on. We show them where they're going to end up following the path they're currently on. And for a lot of people, it's a real eye-opener. So, and by the way, if you want a plan, you can go to our website and you can ask for us to build you a plan. We'll build you a simple plan to get you started. It's free to everyone who wants one. You just have to go to Get the Simple Plan. Just go to our website at getthesimpleplan.com, and you'll find there's a button right there. The button right there where you can click to get yourself a financial plan. Now, finally, maybe you want to talk about some of these things, and we're happy to do that. If you would like to talk with us, we invite you for a free introductory meeting. They usually last about 15 minutes, and we just spend some time getting to know you, finding out where you're at, where you might want to go, and you get to know us. And from there, we look at whether there might be a way to work together for us to help you reach the financial goals that you want. And you can book a time directly right into my calendar. I'm happy to sit down with you. You do that at, I'll put that up on your screen, go.getthesimpleplan.com/calendar-new. So that's it for today. I think you get the point. I hope you found that helpful. It's if you can master yourself and you can master your understanding, these simple understandings of time and money, then you are on your way to doing very well for yourself financially. So again, I invite you to join us where we look at this stuff all the time, the Simple Plan community, facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan community. Free to join, free to participate. We'd love to have you there. If you want to book a time, you can go getthesimpleplan.com/calendar-new. All right, that's it for us for today. I'm going to go out and enjoy that spring-like weather. The warmth is in the air. We can start to feel it. A few things are starting to bud. Maybe for you, it's just the melt is really starting to happen. So I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you and your family have a blessed time. And any way we can help you with your finances, your financial security, we're here to help. We're always here to help. We'd love to help you out. It's what we live to do here at The Simple Plan. Thanks again, and we'll see you again soon.